Hello and welcome to a short tutorial on the IFERROR function in Google Sheets. Now, as a note, the same formula and principle applies for Microsoft Excel as well. Sometimes when you're running calculation on your data, your computer is returning an error instead of a value. This can be due to various reasons. One will be a wrongly written formula, and another one could be a calculation error, like division by 0, for instance. If you can change the formula and make it right, sometimes you must accept errors, especially on the calculation errors. But wait, if you have an error in your column and you would like to have a sum of all the rows on that column, that sum will also give you an error, right? You know what? Let's start by getting some error messages first. And let's see what data we have in front of us. We have some items that were sold, and we have the total sales, we have the unit price, the unit cost, and we would like to calculate the number of units sold and the throughput for each line. Now we can also see that on the line 5, we had some $0 sales because maybe we offer those products for free and the invoice was at 0. Now let's see what we need to do. For calculating the number of units sold, we will need to divide the total sales by the unit price. And we have the formula already entered in the first line, and we will just need to copy it everywhere. But also at the end of this exercise, I would like to understand the total number of units. So I will need to add here a sum of all the rows that are on this column. And let's hit enter. And now all I have to do is to drag the formula from G2 up to G6. Let's say copy. And because I don't want to kill the formatting of the file, I will just paste special paste formula only. But, and no surprise, we have an error here on the division by 0. So it is 0 divided by 0. And because here we have an error, of course, the total is also giving us an error. Now, in this case, it might be less interesting on how many values I sold here on the fruits line, considering that they were anyway sent as a gift. But I would like to know what are the total units sold for all the other lines. So how can I get rid of this error with a division by 0? Well, we have here on the right hand side the formula, and let's try to add it on our first row formula that we have here on G2. So I'm keeping the main part of the value, and I will add if error. And then what do we have? We have the value that we need to have it calculated. In our case is the division of total sales and the unit price. And then if we will have an error on this formula, we need to tell to the system what to give us as a alternative value. Now we know that we would like to have a sum on the column G7, so I cannot add here anything like text. I need to add a value or a blank cell. Let's say that I would like to add the value 0. If I am closing the brackets, I'm hitting enter. There is no change on this part of the formula or on this part of the table because I did not have an error in that case. But now let's copy the formula on the rest of the rows, paste as formula, and I have now a total and my error is gone. There are other ways of getting rid of this error, and one of them is to leave everything empty. Right? You can also write the formula only like this, if error, and then you have the value, because the formula will automatically give you a blank cell in case of an error. Let's see how this one will work, and after hitting the enter, I don't have the error anymore. I don't have the 0 like before. We have an empty cell. Now the advantage is that even if here I have an empty cell, my sum, it is still working. Let's see in the same time how we can calculate the throughput, and the throughput will be my profit divided by the selling price. So what do we have? The profit, meaning the unit price minus the cost, divided by my selling price, the unit price. Again, if I will copy this formula on the rest of the table, I will have again here an error. Now in this case, I will not be able to make a sum, of course, on the throughput, because it will make no sense. I will need somehow to write that here it is a error. So for this, I will go back on the first line and I will add in front of my formula the new function IFERROR. I'm opening the brackets and I have as the first part the value, the calculation that I want to make anyways. And then I will add a comma, and I would like to add here a text like throughput not valid. I'm closing the quotes and I am closing the brackets. It is always interesting to see that every time when you are opening or closing the brackets, you will have grayed out the matching brackets. So in here you have one part of the brackets, the level 1, let's say, on this formula, and then in here you will see that you are now closing the last bracket of the formula. And let's hit enter. So there is no change, of course, on my row 2, because we have all the values there, we have no division by 0. But now when I will copy the formula on the rest of the cells, I have here a throughput not valid. Now here I just have a 0, and it is seen that my price and the unit cost are very close, and this 0, it is mainly because of formatting. So if I will move this one as a percentage, you will see that we have a decent value here. If not, was just one digit way below 0.5 or 50%, so it was showing still 0 and not 1. So what do we have now? We have seen how we can use the IFERROR formula to get rid of those division by 0 errors. Of course, the same principle will go in adding IFERROR in front of your formulas in general if you are expecting any errors. Let's try another example in here, and let's say that we would like to get the throughput values of the main item types that we have from another table. So in this case, I would like to VLOOKUP all this information in the main table and get back the value corresponding to each individual item type. Let's check a little bit the formula. The formula will look for this value on the entire table that you have on top, and it will return the value that is on this column, because here we write 8. It means the column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we say that the table is not indexed. What does it mean? That for my baby food, I will get the information from the cell, that throughput that is corresponding to the baby food. Let's copy this one for the next row. In the next row, this formula will look for the cereal in this table and will give me the information from the column H. Now, if I am copying this formula everywhere, I will see that for the fruits, I have this throughput not valid that we just created with the IFERROR formula, but I also have an A error. Now, this error means that in the table above, we did not found any cleaning supplies. It means that this one were not sold, let's say, in our file. However, it is one of the item types that we want to check. Now, how can I get this error out? And I know, for instance, in this case that it was not sold. So I could add this one as a information instead of the NA that could say everything and nothing. Again, I go on the formula, and in front of the entire formula, I'm writing if error, so just after the equal sign, if error, and then I'm opening the brackets. I leave the first part untouched because this is the value that I want to calculate. And this needs to be shown if there is no error. However, after a comma, I can write in my text in case I have an error. And in this case, we did not have sales, so it was impossible to find them on that table. So let's say no sales. Always closing the brackets and the quotation mark first, then brackets, and that's it. Now, ideally, we should put it back with the right formatting, and now copying the formula everywhere will give me a better understanding of what happened here on the cleaning supplies. We've seen how by using the IFERROR function in Google Sheets, you can get clean tables even though you might have calculation errors. This will help you on getting other calculations on your results. That will help you on still getting totals, let's say, for columns, and it can give more information about the error if you know where this one is coming from, and you can add it as a message in your formula. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you would like to see more like this, please subscribe to the channel as I'm adding content on a weekly basis. See you on the next one.